Well, Razorback fans, the Razorback baseball team finally opened fall practice on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon. And we got to hear from Coach Dave Van Horn today to preview fall practice and talk about some of the most intriguing storylines of the season, talk about the offseason, some of the changes, some of the new players you'll want to know about. And we're going to dive into it on today's episode of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast, Bombastic Edition.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
So fans that follow me on Twitter, however many of you do that, or anybody that watched our Inside Arkansas live show today probably knows where I got to go first. I got to start at the very beginning of the press conference because Dave Van Horn, with his first press conference of the 2024-2025 season, touched on a very important topic. And so I would be remiss, I would not be doing my job as a reporter and as a journalist if I didn't bring you the first thing that came out of Dave Van Horn's mouth at the press conference today.
My opening statement would be, Andrew, you're letting that hair and that flow go, man. I like it. Country Western singer look going. I like it. So I'm good. Let's go. I'm ready.
There you have it. He's a fan of the hair. DVH respects the flow. Could not have gotten more of a chuckle out of me, man. I was buzzing whenever I heard that. It kind of caught me off guard, but just had to start there. But on a serious note, though, DVH talked about a lot of intriguing stuff and nothing groundbreaking other than maybe Arkansas hosting Oklahoma State for an exhibition series in October. We'll talk about a little bit more more about that as it gets closer around to that. It's going to be around the same time as Arkansas's football game against Tennessee. So if you're in town for that, maybe you want to be on the lookout for that. You get to go check out this Arkansas Razorback baseball team play against another opponent. So that's all exciting. But he touched on a lot of things, including some of the newcomers, some of the players on the roster that he's seen some interesting things from. But I want to start with Zach Root, who, if you've been keeping up with the bombastic edition of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast, you know Zach Root was Arkansas's prized possession out of the transfer portal. The left-handed starting pitcher from East Carolina had a really good year as a sophomore, as a weekend starter for the East Carolina Pirates, who are really good program, really used to winning. He was one of the most coveted additions in the entire country in the transfer portal, not just for Arkansas. He had an offer list that included a good bit, and I went as far as to say a few weeks ago that I think he's going to remind a lot of Razorback fans of Hagen Smith. Now, I know that sounds blasphemous, sounds disrespectful. I mean, on last week's show, we talked about how Hagen Smith might be pitching in the big leagues as early as next season. So that's the kind of talent we're talking about. And I'm not saying that by any means. I'm not saying Zach Root is that level of guy, a level of a pitcher, and he's not going to be able to replicate what Hagen Smith did at Arkansas last year. I don't think we're going to see a pitching season that dominant and that fun to watch for a really long time. But I really do think Zach Root is a big-time addition. He's left-handed. He throws in the mid-90s. He's going to be wearing number 33, which we will be touching on here in a little bit. But I do just think he's going to give you guys a little bit of that feel. So you're not replacing Hagen Smith. Nobody can do that. But you're getting a veteran guy who's got experience, who's pitched at a high level. I know ECU, that may sound like a small school out of nowhere, but that's a program that's always pushing to go to Omaha. They're always in the NCAA tournament. They play big-time competition. That's a coach that's used to winning over there. And they had a really good pitcher. Their Friday night starter got drafted in the first round, I believe. So we're talking about a program that is used to producing elite talent. And so Zach Root, he's going to face a little bit of an adjustment coming to the SEC. He's going to be facing better hitters week in and week out. But I really think this kid has the stuff, the fastball slider combo, has the makeup that I think you look for in a weekend starter type of guy. And Dave Van Horn was really, I don't want to say surprised, but he sounded like he kind of was not expecting Zach Root to be a hog for most of the time. And I think a lot of Arkansas fans that really follow this stuff closely, we kind of had the same thing where Arkansas brings in another left-handed starting pitcher and Landon Badelshes, which, by the way, Van Horn touched on that today too. He just calls him Landon. I've been saying it all summer where I'm like, I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name. I'll find out when the time comes. Well, we'll never find out, I guess, because DVH says he just calls him Landon. But DVH admitted that he didn't know if it was necessarily possible to get both of these high-level left-handed pitchers on staff at Arkansas this year. Let's hear what he had to say about it.
Give Zach Root some credit. I mean, he sees that we get Landon. He's got offers from every team in the SEC for the most part, and he still comes to Arkansas. We didn't think we would get him once Landon, made his commitment and put it out there. But we really wanted him, and he turned down some things to come here. So What that says about Coach Hobbs, number one, this kid want to pitch for him. Got a great reputation as a recruiter and a coach, and there you go.
So yeah, I mean, it seems like it was almost the best case scenario for Arkansas when they were building this pitching staff, because Arkansas, it's worth noting, has a lot of returning production on its pitching staff. We're talking about a guy in Gabe Gackle, Gage Wood, who many think has a chance to be a weekend starter. And so you think that would maybe scare off some of these high name, high level recruits. And I know Zach Root, I mean, we don't pocket watch here on this show, but I know Zach Root had plenty of offers to a lot of schools. I mean, DVH touched on it there, but he turned down some stuff to come to Arkansas. And obviously he didn't come to Arkansas for free. Let's not go crazy, but I think it kind of speaks to the respect that Matt Hobbs has around the country and how these pitchers view him. And I think what you're seeing here is the byproduct of Hagen Smith's success. Hagen Smith's a guy who came to Arkansas as a freshman, a very highly touted recruit, and somehow raised his stock and ends up signing for $8 million. You think people around the country don't notice stuff like that? You think they're not noticing, hey, they're cranking out a lot of draft picks over there at Arkansas. Their entire starting rotation just got drafted. They saw Mason Molina go to Arkansas, and he was a highly touted transfer, and he didn't even have that great of a year, and he still ends up getting drafted. Brady Tiger was banged up a lot. He still gets drafted. Again, it just speaks to the respect that Arkansas has nationally, especially Matt Hobbs, in terms of what he's done with these pitching arms and these monsters he's starting to create. And so when you combine all that with what Arkansas has coming back on the mound, it's easy to get really excited. And, DVH kind of referenced how a lot of these guys like to go where good pitchers are. And I've been throwing out the Zach Root Hagen Smith comparison. I want to clarify once again, I'm not saying Zach Root's going to be as good as Hagen Smith, but I just want to let you guys know I am not the only one who sees a little bit of the comparison there. And DVH thought about that when he was handing out numbers.
Yeah, Coach, you guys, I guess, gave Zach Root number 33. Does that signify anything or just random?
I'll just leave that up to your mind, whatever you want to think there. No, I've always had, for the most part, what have I had? A lot of left-handed pitchers have worn that. Nick Schmidt. Drew Smiley wear that number? Might have been another one in there. Might have been a couple more. So I'll let Bob dig into that. But it's left-handed pitcher's number in my eyes, and he's left-handed. And Landon had already requested number 35, and he got it. And then, talked to Zach about it, and he kind of knew that there had been some guys wearing that were pretty good. So didn't want to throw that on him if he didn't want to handle that, and he was good with it.
I like how he says did want to handle it, which, it's not like this is LSU with number 7 or anything, but that tells you a little bit of how they view him and what they're hoping he can do for Arkansas this year. Also, just got to give a shout out to my guy, Patrick Wicklander, number 33. That's another left-handed pitcher, all SEC guy, another guy that got drafted. DVH, give Patrick Wicklander some love. So, guys, we're going to talk about some other Razorbacks, some that some familiar names that already that I won't have to tell you about because you already know how good they are and how good they are hoping to be in the future in Behave Lloyd and Rider Helfrich. We will get to that in a moment after a quick break, so stick around. Locked on Razorback fans, I want to take a moment to give you a heads up on a brand new mobile game that I think you are going to love as much as I do. In this amazing game and simulation, you get to step into the shoes of a head coach and lead your college football program to glory. I know all of you guys you armchair quarterbacks, and I'm right there with you. You think you know what's best for your team. You think you know what the best plays are. Well, you get a chance to prove it here, from recruiting players and hiring the coaching staff to overseeing training camps and handling school scholarships. You get to control every crucial detail of your program. It's all in your hands. Will you be able to handle the pressure? And here's what I really love about the game. You are responsible for calling the plays. Your strategy will not only determine the success of your football season, but will shape the future legacy of your program. Ultimate College Football Head Coach is completely free, has no ads, and is 100% playable offline. You can play on the go when you're at work and you're procrastinating. You don't want to really do the boring stuff. Just play a little Ultimate College Football Head Coach. And of course, we have a special offer for you, Locked On Razorback fans. Use the promo code Locked On CFB in all caps inside the game store to receive a free boost to your program. Make sure to take advantage of this perk as it will get your team off to a strong start. To download the game, just visit ultimate-cfb.com ultimate-cfb.com. That's ultimate-cfb.com, or look it up in the app stores. Ultimate College Football HC. Start your journey today. Okay, so a couple Hog fans, last offseason this time, when we were kind of forecasting this Arkansas baseball team and imagining how they were going to be and all the great things they could accomplish, two of the names that we talked about a lot were Behave Lloyd, who ended up being the team's starting shortstop. You guys kind of saw what he was capable of, got a little glimpse of it. And Rider Helfrich, who is a huge piece of Arkansas's recruiting class and a big reason why Arkansas had the #1 recruiting class in the country. Both of those guys had some success. Vahiva, in particular, had a lot of success. Was one of the best shortstops in the country, one of the best shortstops in the SEC, no doubt. Was a really good defender. But I think there were some fans that saw him hit 376 as a freshman at Sacramento State and thought, him hitting just a mere 280 or 275 or whatever it was he ended up hitting, even with the 14 home runs. Some fans might have been a little bit underwhelmed by that. Even after that, still one of the top prospects in next year's draft. He's getting projected to go top 30, top 40. He's clearly one of the more highly regarded talents in his class. And we've all kind of seen the ceiling, but we've also seen there's some swing and miss in that swing. And, maybe he gets a little too long ball happy sometimes. I know a lot of fans really get frustrated when they see their guys strike out swinging for the fences, as they say. And so I think there's a lot of fans. That's kind of a question of the offseason is, hey, can these two really talented pieces that Arkansas has, and you can even throw Nolan Souza and Kendall Diggs and Reese Robinette, whoever else you want to throw into this mix, into this category of guys that have a lot of talent. And we've seen kind of the upside. Can they put it all together and be a little bit more consistent? Well, Behave Lloyd had a really, really strong summer up in the Cape Cod League. There was like a stretch where he had like 5 home runs in 4 games. He was just tearing it up. His batting average ended up right around 300, but he was up over that, up into the 330 range at one point. Really seemed to be kind of putting it all together. Was drawing some walks, striking out a little bit less than he usually does, and he's facing legitimately good pitching. And so it's easy to get excited about what this guy can do. Well, Dave Van Horn went and took a up close and personal look at what his big shortstop from Hawaii was up to this summer. And here's what the head hog observed in Behave Lloyd's swing.
He make an adjustment this summer from leg kick to, you won't see a whole lot going on there. I watched his batting practice up there the first day up in the Cape, and I got him off to the side and I videoed it, sent it back. And I said, look to the other coaches, look what's going on here. He's made an adjustment. And at the time he was hitting over 300 and hitting home runs. And I talked to him after BP and I said, hey, I love what you're doing. He just stayed through the middle, hit line drive after line drive, hit some balls out of the park, dead center, maybe left center, right center. And then in the game, his first at bat, he singles up the middle, then he lined out to short. It was just taking BP to the game and not trying to do too much. And same guy showed up here, last fall, trying to see if he could hit him up there by the picnic benches and BP when they had free rounds. Now it's see if he can ping pong the middle and maybe hit one off the batter's eye and go the other way. It's called hitting, and it's been a great thing so far.
It's called hitting. Man, if you're a Razorback fan and that doesn't fire you up, then I don't know what will. I mean, again, we've seen how talented Behave Lloyd is. He's probably one of your favorite players on the team, if not your favorite player. Your son's probably trying to dress just like him. The guy's awesome. He's been awesome since the day he stepped on campus. I knew he was going to be a beloved figure here at Arkansas. And I mean, so beloved that he even brought his brother, Kahio Lloyd, who Dave Van Horn talked pretty highly of today. Said he's been swinging the bat pretty well early on in the early going. So we'll see what they're able to do together, the brothers. But again, it just kind of excites you because these are the exact type of things that I feel like you fans want to hear about a guy in Vahiva who how talented he is. The power's in there. You just want a little bit more consistency and putting the ball in play, a little bit more contact and power to all fields, which he's shown plenty of. But, we're saying, this is a guy that hit 376 as a freshman. Again, he didn't do it against SEC competition. So I'm not saying, hey, that's a realistic expectation, but it's in there. His bat to ball skills are next level. And I think that's what makes him such an intriguing prospect, especially at the shortstop position. I really do feel like we got a chance to see a really, really special junior season coming up from Behave Lloyd. And so I can't wait to watch it. And we're going to talk about Rider Helfrich and a little bit more of what DVH saw from him this summer, because he also had a nice little run after one more quick little break. Razorback fans, I want to talk to you about 5-Hour Energy today. If you're going to be watching football all weekend, like I've been doing, like I'm sure you've been doing this Saturday, you're going to be on the couch for a long time. You got to stay energized. 5-Hour Energy is the best way to get a refreshing little shot of energy that'll keep you buzzing all day. With zero sugar and a convenient portable size, it is the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. The 5-Hour Energy website has flavors galore: watermelon, tropical burst, grape, berry, and more. There's a flavor for everyone, so you should try them all. On the site, you even have the option to build your own 12 or 24 pack. You choose the flavors, and you can get them delivered right to your door. And as we spoke about last week, you can find 5-Hour Energy anywhere, any gas station, any drugstore, wherever you're at, any store at the counter. There's usually 5-Hour Energy sitting right around there. But if you go to 5hourenergy.com, again, that is the number 5hourenergy.com, and get some 5-Hour Energy product today, you can use the promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. Hard to beat that. That offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders also, but go check it out today. That is 5hourenergy.com, promo code LOCKEDONCFB. Go to 5hourenergy.com today. Now, we've touched on Rider Helfrich a little bit on previous podcasts as some of the guys that are, I feel like, the biggest X factors with this Arkansas baseball team. Because all the time in the offseason, you're sitting there looking at your team, looking at the roster, and you're like, okay, we brought in this guy. We brought in this guy. Now, this guy left, and we brought in this guy. And you kind of only view it, especially in this transfer portal era, we only view it as the who's leaving, who showed up, the newcomers and the outgoing guys. That's kind of the way you add it up, and you're trying to figure out how good this team is. But I think another big piece of it is you got guys on your roster, guys like, the best players on your team are usually the guys that you're developing over the years, and they're kind of growing each year by year. And Rider Helfrich, I think, is one of those guys that I don't want to say he's flying under the radar, because we all know how good Rider Helfrich is. And as the season gets closer, I'm sure he'll be crushing in fall ball, and we'll all be getting excited and talking about him a good bit. But I feel like Razorback fans are forgetting just how talented this guy is and how highly touted he was. And like we've talked about before, it's really rare that you see catchers just become impact players in college baseball right away as freshmen. It just doesn't happen. It's typically a position where you're sitting back and having to learn and grow a little bit. Think of all the best catchers of the last 15, 20 years. Casey Opitz, he sat right behind Grant Cook and waited for a year for his turn, and then kind of evolved into the guy that we all knew and loved. Grant Cook, same thing. I believe he even redshirted his first year on campus. James McCann played a little bit as a freshman, but it didn't go too well for him. He eventually kind of broke onto the scene and became James McCann, who, by the way, shout out to James McCann, just crossed 10 years MLB service time, which is a hard thing to do. That's not 10 years of pro ball. That is 10 years playing in the big leagues, being in the top 1.1% of the world. So shout out to James McCann, great Arkansas catcher. And by the way, this time last year, David Horn was even saying, Rider Helfrich, he reminds me of James McCann, except with a better bat. That was a real thing that Dave Van Horn said. Now, of course, DVH has gotten himself in trouble a little bit of, hyping up whether it's going to be hitting, pitching, or whatever. I know fans really like to hold folks accountable for stuff like that, but he really likes Rider Helfrich. I'll never forget, Helfrich got a start in Arlington the second weekend of last season, and he got to start at DH. He had been playing catcher a little bit, and we kind of expected he would have a chance to be the catcher for Arkansas next to Hudson White, but he got to start at DH on that Friday night. I remember asking DVH on the field after. I said, "Hey, what went into the decision to start Rider Helfrich, at DH, because he's been, catcher that we thought would play there, but DH is interesting." And he said, Rider Helfrich's a dude. I remember him saying that. That's what DVH said. Rider Helfrich is a dude. That's why I played him, because we have a lot of confidence in him. He's a really good hitter, really good athlete, can really run. And obviously he's got the catching ability as a receiver, as a blocker. He's a real athlete back there. He kind of checks all the boxes. I don't be surprised if Rider Helfrich just takes a massive step in year 2 as a Razorback. And I think by the end of his sophomore year, he's going to be widely viewed as one of the best prospects in his class, which is what he was viewed as when he was coming into Arkansas as a high school kid. So I think that he's got a chance to really burst onto the scene. And he's another guy that had a massive summer in the Cape, improved his batting average, improved his on-pace percentage. At one point, he was leading the league in home runs. I don't know if he ended up leading the league, finished with 10 or 11 around there. But with a wood bat, that tells you what kind of power we're talking about here. And so it'll be very interesting to see what he's able to do in his sophomore year as a Razorback. But here's what the head hog saw out of his big catcher.
Yeah, it was fun watching Rider play this summer. He's tougher than nails, honestly. Very athletic. He can run. tremendous arm. He's got power. He proved that this summer with a wood bat. I mean, I watched him play 2 games up in the Cape, and both times I went to watch him play, he didn't catch. He just DH'd it in the 3-hole because it was kind of an every other day thing. And I didn't need to see him catch. I know he can catch, but I went and watched some of our other guys as well on those other days. And, uh, um, you know, he's the front runner, obviously. Like I said, he brings more than just receiving to the game and calling the game. He can really block, can control the running game. He can call pitches and deal with our pitchers. And then on the offensive side, you're getting a guy that made a jump offensively and really started working on some things towards the end of the season and took it into the summer, calmed down his swing a little bit, didn't try to pull everything. And I think it just changed his mindset a little bit, and he had a great summer. It was fun watching him and then following him throughout the summer. And
well, Razorback fans, that'll just about wrap us up on today's episode of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I know it's football season. Got a big game Saturday in Stillwater. I know we're all excited. We're all buzzing. I can't wait to get down there. But I just want to make sure you guys still got your baseball fix. I'm trying to keep you guys informed so we don't have to have all these conversations in February when the season rolls around. And like I said, Arkansas started practice today on Tuesday, September 3rd. They will have their first scrimmage on Friday, I believe, which will be open to the public. It's going to get going right around 3 o'clock. So if you're in the area, anywhere near Fayetteville, and you want to go get a glimpse of your Arkansas Razorback, your Diamond Hogs, go to Baum-Walker Stadium. Check out the team for yourself. Don't take my word for it, although I will be there. And if you want to chat, we can do that. But I'll be there Friday. Go check out the Hogs, and they'll also be scrimmaging on Saturday at 9:30. I will not be at that one because I will be, again, on my way to Stillwater to watch Arkansas football get a huge ranked win. But I hope you enjoyed catching up with me on today's episode of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast, the bombastic edition. Have a beautiful day, everyone. Appreciate you.